Well, I would say, from my own point of view, that they are still people, and they're not too much different from other severely traumatized people that don't have power. They're still scared. They're frightened. They cry when they're alone, and no one wants to be their friend. They're still humans, but they're just severely screwed up. Mm-hmm. And you might have noticed there are a lot of other people that are severely screwed up that take the BART every day. You know.
Yeah. That's true.
There are people that work in the banking system that are so fucked up they need to be given a bunch of ecstasy and hand touched by some people that love them. You know, they're monsters, of course, but they're human monsters, undoubtedly. And the world is full of all these stories of people that reach some kind of brink and then rediscover their humanity as buried deep in their hearts and not in their dicks or their heads or their wallets or their real estate portfolio. That really what the measure of what you're doing comes from your heart, and from that you can orient yourself around that. And some people make that transition, rarely, but some do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And, you know, I guess maybe the saving grace of the psychedelic culture is that they can hold, or people inside the psychedelic culture can hold space for those events to occur. Because if that does not happen, then there's no opportunity in some ways for people to witness that and be a part of that in a conscious fashion.
That's a beautiful way of putting that. I think that's exactly what I was trying to get to. Yes.
Yeah. So let's go back. Thanks for sharing that story, by the way. I thought it was a very interesting story, and it must have been a mind trip for you, right? I mean, here you are. You've been swimming in Terrence McKenna, and now you're working for the Bush family. And your materials being used in a speech. I mean, that must just have been a really surreal moment for you.
It was a year and a half of surreal moments, and it was hard. It would have been impossible to predict, and I would have never in a million years thought working in that situation. Yeah. But it still happened, and it was kind of surprising. I mean, it was just eye-opening for me in a lot of ways. That I feel better about the world having survived it without any kind of complications and all that. And that's it. You know, I've let it go, and I try not to think about it very much, because I think the future is a compelling and very urgent situation, and I'm trying to deal with the past in different ways than, you know, grousing over them a lot. I'm trying to be more in the present moment and moving forward, where the obstacles are hurtling toward us at lightning speed. And we need history and we need understanding, but that's why I read 2,000 or 3,000 books over the past 40 years, you know, was to get that idea in my head that we have a history and to understand it. But right now, my life is very much about trying to lean into the future in a way that directs all this energy around technology and the tribalization of the alternative culture that's represented by Burning Man and all the festival culture, all the permaculture, the rediscovery of the divine feminine. All these things are rushing in, and they need love and nurturance. And I really would prefer to put my energy there than what I call monitoring the critique of the system, because I only have so many breaths left in me. I only have so many heartbeats like everyone else. I've buried some of my best friends, and I realize that there's very short time to act, and I want to spend my time acting on the forward-looking stuff that I can nurture, rather than trying to convince people that there are other bad people in the world. I know really well that there are other bad people in the world and that they have to be taken into account. But my job as an artist, the way I see it right now, is to try to see the future in a bandwidth that's wider than a Twitter feed or wider than a Facebook link. I really am concerned that people are forgetting how to think about anything for more than a few moments.
Yeah, no, I think that's, absolutely. I mean, these technologies are really changing our brain waves and our synapses and kind of reformatting us in ways that I don't think are healthy. And, you know, I'm in the mix, and I have to step back every now and then to try to, you know, gauge my attention span. what I'm capable of, and sometimes it's a real reality check, let me tell you. Let's talk about the film again. I'm going to try to play a few clips here, and I've got my take on this film and what it means to you in your life, and I'm going to share that with you if you're open to it.
Sure.
A little bit later. But let's talk about the movie itself. I'm going to play. Let me just kind of reconfigure something here. See if I can do this. I'm going to play kind of an early clip. I'll stop and start this thing. Now, the challenge with this is my computer is not very robust at this point in time, so it may go dark at some point. But let's give it a shot and see how this unfolds here. This is like the first 3 minutes of the audio that you sent me. From Terra Lumina. Let me just open this up here and play this. There we go. It's almost ready to go. And all right, here we go. This is the first clip.
I'm speaking to you from the Imaginatrix, a domain outside of space and time, a domain unknown to ordinary people. But over the centuries, exceptional human beings have learned the secret of moving between the worlds. The Imaginatrix is the land of all dreams fulfilled. It's larger than you can imagine. It's a universe inside the human mind, and it's where the future is going. It is where our destiny lies, in a place where realities are made of thought, and where the only laws are the laws of the human imagination. This is the place that shamans have known of for millennia. They pass through the portals that normally are reserved for the dead soul, moving between the worlds. There's a technology and an understanding that you can barely imagine. This is what has been kept from ordinary mankind for millennia. This is the real secret behind the idea of magic. This is the universe into which your entire world is destined to dissolve. Iguanda na swava kapaksidikiti.
So that's an incredibly compelling piece of audio. Let me just plug back in here and get this going. That's an incredibly compelling piece of audio. And one of the things that really strikes me about that is how Terrence, it's almost as if, he is speaking to you and to us from the Imaginatrix, and he's there now, he was there then. It's so deeply ironic and rich how that whole piece of audio just gets laid out, and it's utterly fascinating. And the other thing that strikes me about that little clip, and one of the things that I saw with the movie, was that Terrence was really okay with madness and his madness and madness in general. You can hear that at the beginning. You can hear that when he begins to drop into speaking in tongues. I mean, his mind states were incredibly fluid, and he was really okay with that, wasn't he?
That's very interesting, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Robert?
Yeah, did you hear me?
Yeah, I did hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. My hold on a second here. I got to shut this down. So you know, I just think that's an amazing piece of audio, simply because Terrence is in the physical body no longer with us. So he really is speaking to us from the Imaginatrix, and he was speaking to us then, and he's speaking to us now, and it's absolutely fascinating. And this whole, you know, his fluidity with his mind states and being able to go into kind of a glossolalia and, you know, bits of madness. I mean, I think that clip in some ways kind of encapsulates Terrence, you know, very nicely. And I'm wondering if you could talk about, you know, what it was like to be around him in a spontaneous fashion. And also, you shared some stories with me about some of the strange things that have happened kind of after the film, where he maybe really was interacting with you from the Imaginatrix.
Yeah, let me...
Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Lou?
Robert? You there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just... I'm playing with different windows and trying to manage the sound files in a somewhat awkward fashion, but yeah. So I just wanted to get into that audio a little bit, and
I heard your question. So
okay, great, excellent. Yeah, okay. Sure.
So, well, part of it is the first way I heard you asking it was you were bringing up madness and how he's willing to engage what people would consider things on the brink of madness, and that's certainly, you know, I think in this piece you're right. It kind of embodies that more than most of the more rationalist pieces that have come out about him talking about subjects and writing his books. And he was in the tradition of romantic poets and, you know, writers, and he understood that what most people would regard as madness were altered states of consciousness, and that they might actually be the vehicles of a type of wisdom, a type of knowledge that's cured by experience to be something more seasoned and more precious than data. We get very confused about what's important in information, and this information-rich stew we're in. It's not getting more information. I don't need to read 600 books about flying saucers to know that I don't really understand what's happening. After a few of them, I get the information. What's more important is that other part that comes from your lived experience, and you try to give yourself a chance of adding something of your own insight and your own unique lived experience, and I think that's what wisdom is. And everyone has some of it. Terrence had a shitload of it. Terrence was amazing because he had exposed himself to such a wide range of natural and enhanced experiences all over the world. Incredible reader. He had an encyclopedic mind, and he brought that to bear to his performances with a sense of responsibility. He wasn't responsible to facts, to logic, to any kind of academic credentialing. He improvised, he made things up. Sometimes he embellished things beyond the point of belief. He was a shaman trying to introduce an entire culture to a ceremonial view and understanding of life that regards the whole experience as sacred. Like he used to say, there are no rehearsals. Mm-hmm. This is the real thing. Whatever you're doing right now in your life, that's the real thing. And if you want to be involved at a more intense level, you have to make that choice and step out of it. Go on to something else, something more challenging and with more risk. So he was definitely willing to risk a great deal for this vision, and part of it was that whole thing of madness. I remember when he was, I think it was in Eric Davis's last interview series with Terrence that's available on audio, where Terrence talks about the natural psychedelic consequences of having a tumor put pressure on your brain.